Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. Such a pleasure to meet you. I mean, this franchise has been running 35 years, but it feels like you've done something fresh yet again with it, particularly this amazing female lead. So tell us about casting her, Amber, and why it was important to you to do something different with this film.
Casting Amber was obvious as soon as we had her audition. The scene that she auditioned with was the scene between her and her mother. She did it 3 times. She did it once as written, once in Comanche, and then once silently. She performed a dialogue scene non-verbally, and that was incredibly moving. And then when we did some physical stuff, she was never just crawling or running or leaping over a stack of mats. She was always finding the emotional beats of the scene. So that's exactly what this movie needed. And she went through a whole lot of training to rise to the occasion, just like Nadu does, and become a total badass.
The other thing I love about this film is it combines seamlessly kind of the CGI aspects, but it still has a real tangibility to it, a bit like kind of more retro films. Was that something very important to you, and how did you achieve it?
Absolutely. It was really heavily relying on the suit, but not feeling beholden to it. And in moments where we wanted the Predator to move or do things that a suit would not allow, we then had a team of awesome VFX artists take over. Even little things like getting the inside of the mouth right and seeing the calf muscles flex. Those are, when we don't have those, I think you start to feel the artifice. So allowing CG to take over really helped make our thing feel like it hasn't before and be an awesome alien creature.
And what do you hope people take away from watching it? Because again, like, it's a great, amazing action film, there's suspense, but there's also that thing about representation and you know, fighting against the odds.
I really hope people find it to be a very intense, thrilling, but also moving and emotional experience. And that's not something you can always say for a genre film. It's definitely what I'm aiming for, and I hope that's what people feel. I grew up loving The Predator. I was in 3rd grade and not allowed to see it, and desperately wanted to. And when I eventually did, I think the thing that I was so captivated by was it was the first time I had seen a genre mashup. I would later go on to fall in love with John Carpenter and eventually see Aliens and all sorts of other movies that tick the same box. But Predator to me represents exactly that, being an action movie combined with a science fiction film combined with a horror movie. The thing that I was so excited about was to still retain that essence, but I think our film is a little bit more of an adventure film, a historical epic that then combines with suspense, horror, and sci-fi, and all those things. And frankly, I'm super stoked for people to finally see our version of The Predator. One of the things that made the original so exciting was that it was so surprising. We saw it cloaked, we thought that's the Predator, and then we saw it decloaked, and with that biomask, we thought, oh no, that's the Predator, and then yet still, when it removes that, that was the Predator. And none of the other movies have really been able to function that way. And our movie, with our redesign, allows us to be that exciting, even for die-hard fans of the franchise. I mean, it was very tricky because this is set 300 years prior to what we've seen. We had to make sure that everything it's wearing and wielding feel older and feel like a prior iteration of what we've seen before. But we also wanted to make sure it felt as advanced as it possibly could, so it could feel like that much more of a formidable opponent for our Earthlings. I think its biomask is indicative of a design that is very Predator. Predators are trophy hunters, and our Predator has infused its tech with a trophy and is wearing it on its face. And because we want it to be much more alien in creature, like being, we stripped it of its armor, but to protect himself, it now has a shield. And the way that shield unfurls is very advanced, even though it's seemingly a more archaic weapon. So I believe that we finished this movie. We just barely did not too long ago, and I'm anxious to see how people react to it, not only diehard fans of the franchise, but also people who have never seen a Predator before, or maybe never have gone to see a genre movie before. Hopefully this works for them as well. Sometimes the most fun, sometimes no fun at all. We were really battling nature, and I am someone who feels very at home playing video games and watching movies on a couch. And we, had to cross rivers to get to set and put on snowshoes and climb up a snowy mountain just to scout locations. So it was quite challenging, but the cast and the crew were tons of fun, and we were kind of all huddled and making it together. Sometimes we would make s'mores. People had never had s'mores before. You probably don't. Do you have s'mores?
We do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But that was a lot of fun to like be around a campfire and share a s'more with each other. I mean, honestly, the one that I mentioned where we had to snap on the snowshoes was the Mesa Top, where Nadu and Suddy have a campfire moment together. Was really breathtaking. I mean, hopefully we do it justice on camera, but just being up there and you feel the altitude. I'm sure people who like do hike and do mountain stuff, like this is like what I'm saying is like super mundane, but it really was breathtaking. It was awesome. Yeah. This movie is about a young Comanche girl, Nadu, who really believes that she can be a hunter and no one around her thinks she can, so she sets out to prove herself and heads out into the woods with her dog Suddy, and instead of encountering just the dangerous creatures that the Northern Great Plains have in store for her, she also encounters the universe's most dangerous hunter, the predator. I've always been excited about making something that can be a moving experience, both physically, like to the edge of your seat, and emotionally as well. So getting to make a movie that feels like it's primarily told through action, but also has the engine of a sports film, of an underdog story, so it could have that heart as well, is the thing that I'm the most excited about, including featuring protagonists that we never see at the leads of a film. You know, so often Native American and Comanche specifically are relegated to playing the sidekick or the villain and never the hero. So hopefully this movie changes that up a little bit. There's something about the design. When this movie was announced, I was messaged by a father and daughter, a very young daughter, dressed as the Predator, and the little girl said, "I'm so excited for this movie. The Predator is my favorite character. I've never seen the movie, but the Predator is my favorite character." You know, and there's just something about that design that really struck a nerve with us. We've only shown it to one crowd before tonight, and this I think will be a very different crowd, and I'm anxious to see how they receive the movie. I mean, shot in Alberta on Stoney Nakoda Reservation, and I just think every pocket of the world has its own intrinsic quality of light, and it is a very beautiful, breathtaking landscape that I knew that if we could capture it, it would become permanent in a movie, and really lend its, as you pointed out, like the beauty to the violence. I love that something can be very adrenalized and intense, but also moving and beautiful, and the landscapes there really lend themselves to getting it. I just was really hell-bent on making a movie that would be primarily told through action, but I didn't want it to just be a visceral experience. I wanted it to be an emotional one as well. So I thought if I could take the engine of a sports film, an underdog story, and inject it into a genre film, it would be that much more rewarding. And thinking about making the underdog story, I didn't want it to just be man against the elements. I wanted it to be a real formidable adversary, and of course then the Predator comes to mind. So I mean, one of the most challenging things was actually on the location scouting, because we scouted in the winter to then shoot in the summer.
Oh, wow.
And we had to snap on snowshoes and climb a mountain just to see a snow-covered version of a location that we'd have to pretend we knew what would it look like when the snow melted, and it looked as it would when we would shoot. So that was incredibly challenging. Also, the tall grass sequence that's in some of the trailers, that was just an open field that we had to grow the grass for, planting the seeds, mapping out the timeline of when we would be shooting so that we knew it was the proper height. It was a real scientific excursion, and it ended up working out. It was all very precarious, for sure. I think I was very lucky to find someone like Amber who could be so expressive even without words, because this movie is, as I put it, so much told through action, and her physicality, and really just, I think she represents a character that we can all relate to. It's one of the things that, like, Arnold Schwarzenegger and movies of the 80s, and specifically Predator, is more of the wish fulfilling thing. Like, oh, I wish I could be like that guy, but I'm so not. Whereas Amber playing Nadu represents someone that really has to try through blood, sweat, and tears to earn every step of the way of what she's seeking after, and wrestling with doubt from the outside and within, and I think that's something that all of us can relate to, sort of a universal theme. So.